welcome, one and all. My name is Jason Davis, and this is Empower Volusia Common Sense. We're coming to you hidden in an iron bunker in the upper western islands of Volusia County, Florida. That's right. And we're guarded by 2 rabid Pomeranians and 1 crazy cat. And wow, today's date is October 21st, 2019, if you're listening to us today. Or you might be listening to us tomorrow morning or some other time, and that's fine, because you're listening to us either on YouTube, on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook. We're out there on Twitter, and also at www.jasondavispodcast.com. Almost forgot where I am. And you can also drop me a line at jasondavispodcast@gmail.com for any questions, or if you would like further information, or if you have even if you have a subject matter that you would like us to discuss here on jasondavispodcast.com. So anyways, we're moving on now. We've got some things that have happened over the weekend. A few days ago, I received a phone call from a concerned citizen, and he wanted me to explain to him how or what would be the best way for him and his group to proceed with trying to get something before a city or a county council. I don't think he was very happy with my answer, but I did tell him the truth, and that's what I'm here about. I always told my mama, or my mom always told me, yeah, you never tell your mama nothing, she'll tell you. And my mama always told me, never tell a lie. Because you have to tell a lie to cover up the first lie, then another lie to cover up the second lie, etc., 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 and before long, you don't remember what the truth was. That's the terrible thing.
You can't handle the truth!
So now this fine young lad called me and asked me this because I was on the Volusia County Council. I was the county chair, and I was privy to all these situations that are happening in our county, and I know how to get things in front of a county council or city council. Now, when I sat on the council, I sat with what is considered to have a very weird thing I had. It's called an open mind. I would review all the facts of cases, as we shall say, call them. As people came to us, they had issues. I would go out there and do the old boots on the ground investigation, walk out there on their property, shake hands with people, talk to people on both sides of the issue, and I would start to formulate an opinion. Of course, this is what you would think any good county council member would actually do. Well, to be honest with you, that's not quite so true at this time.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I guess that is one reason why I put over 40,000 miles on my car every year for the 4 years that I was in office. Yeah, 40,000 miles on my personal car. You don't get a county car. Nope. At any rate, when the issues came before the county council, I would sit there on the dais. I would listen to both sides of an issue again, and I would then call for a vote. When I went into the council meeting that morning, I had an idea as to how I was going to vote on a particular issue. For you see, I've done the research. I've talked to the people. I looked at the situation physically, put my boots on the ground. I did my job as you elected me to do. That's all I could do. Sometimes while I was sitting on the dais listening to these issues, one of the speakers would bring up a point or a fact that I didn't know because it wasn't brought to my attention when I was there with my boots on the ground, walking around whatever piece of property or looking at a building or observing what is going on in whatever issue during my initial investigations. It generally was not anything like, no weird statements like, it's all for the children, or it's for the manatees or the turtles or anything like that. That didn't ever play into my mind. In other words, to change my mind on the dais, you had to be a lot more than just arbitrary. I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, though. So let's digress and explain to you the process, once again, of how government addresses your issues. Let's pick an issue, if we can. Let's make it a big one. Okay, water clarity. How about the issues of septic tanks versus sewer systems? That was, that you may know. From my previous podcasts, of course, I've done a lot of extensive research and investigation into the clarity of water over the intercoastal waterway areas. I know for a fact, and I'll say that again, I know for a fact that septic tanks are the best sewage treatment system available to us. Just by sheer volume of the effluent that a city or a county wastewater treatment plant treats, and then they pour it on the ground to percolate into the ground, folks, that's the difference between 500 gallons and 500,000 gallons of effluent on the ground. It's not a good thing to do.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
As you may have heard, read, or listened to commentary about it, everybody in government, or everybody who supports government, they want you, the American citizen, on a huge water treatment plant of some sort. So, there is a group of citizens, taxpayer citizens, no less, that want to retain their personal septic tanks. This is a current issue, folks. I'm talking about today, not 3 years ago, but now. Now, these folks have done research. They've had people with degrees in agricultural management. They've had scientific data presented to them in a meeting. I was at that meeting, and it came out with known results. Personally owned septic tanks do not, and I say again, they do not add to the great influx of nitrogen and solids into our waterways. If anything, they reduce nitrogen in our groundwaters. This fact has been backed up by scientific data, unbiased scientific data. In other words, you can recreate this particular experiment and take a soil sample yourself and get it tested, and you will know exactly what I just told you. Also, these individuals have had independent studies done on their own personal septic systems to check for nitrogen infiltration into the ground and into the groundwater systems. And they have found that they are so low that you can't even grow weeds with that low of a level of nitrogen. And just for a sub-note here on science, all plants need nitrogen to grow. That's why you pour fertilizer on your yard. That's so that your grass is green. That is why nitrogen-based fertilizers are used on crops, so they can grow and produce the food you eat. I've actually done a podcast previously on this matter. And if you want to go to the archives here on www.jasondavispodcast.com, go down there to the archives and look into the talking points there. It's called They're Talking Poo-Poo Again. I just bring this issue up because we're not talking about septic systems here. Not on this podcast, no. We're talking about governmental process. This is the way your government, no matter if it's a city, county, state, or federal, how they handle your request to get something done. So here we go, folks. The process of getting something done in government. Yay. You may think differently here in a moment. As I've said previously, the first thing you have to do is have an issue that you would like to address to our governmental officials. Septic tanks versus water treatment. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you may look at it, you should hire an attorney to get this paperwork written up. There's two very simple facts about this. One fact is that the people that are going to read this document, well, they're attorneys. And they know how to write you need to have somebody that speaks attorney. I mean, they have their own little language. And with all their abbreviations and know-hows, and attorneys, let's be realistic, they know how to write a formal request to the government. They train on it. Now, there are certain formats of documentation, certain words they need to know that need to be used, certain paragraphs that need to be formatted in a proper manner. These things are all done by attorneys, their staff, so it all looks nice, neat, professional, and so that you can go through this process, and it saves you a lot of headache trying to figure out how to do this. Now, the next step of this process, and I'll get to the other reason why you need it here in a minute, why you need an attorney, but we'll go on with the process here. Now, the next step of the process is actually one of the simplest parts of the process. You go to your county council meeting or your city council meeting, and during the citizens issue time or the citizen participation time, see, this is the time when citizens or their attorneys can bring forth an issue to the county or the city. And I know this because I was on the county council, and we used to have people there all the time, and I would give them their time to speak. But anyways, they bring this to the public participation section of the meeting, and they present their issue. Now, key point why you have that attorney there, this is not the second reason, but as I stated earlier, he's there with documents. He's there with backup documents. He presents the scientific findings with all the petitions signed by citizens and all done in a nice, neat little packet, and they hand it to the staff right there over the dais. And then they're given time to speak. Generally, they're given 3 minutes, sometimes more, to the council. And this is to express your disagreements with a particular situation. Now, this is all done so that all of your statements, records, and information can be put on the public record, viewable by anyone and everyone. It's basically a record that you went there, made this request, or your attorney made the request. Of course, after you're done speaking with the chairman of that particular board, the chairman will say, "Thank you very much, and we'll look into this." Now, so much. Now, everything is part of the public record. Yeah, we'll get to it. Of course, the availability of record doesn't happen immediately. You can't tell your brother-in-law or your mom or your sister or anybody else, "Hey, go ahead and check this out." It won't be there yet. It usually takes anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks before your information's actually there. And then you can contact your particular government agency and ask, when will this be placed on an agenda? Or you should actually have your attorney contact the county, state, federal, whatever, and ask when this is going to be put on any agenda whatsoever. Somewhere we got to talk about this. This is a problem. That's why we brought it to you. Because I will tell you here and now, folks, nothing in government moves very quickly. And as a matter of fact, it's akin to breeding elephants. It's all done on a very high level, as you will see. It's done with a lot of screaming and noise and carrying ons and discussions and matters and all kinds of things happening. And it generally takes 2 years to see results, just like breeding an elephant. So anyways, so now your waiting begins. And before they place this on an agenda, of course, the lawyers will look it over. Make sure it's all legal and everything's done right. Because if you have one T uncrossed or one I not dotted, they'll say, nope, it's not right, and they'll throw it away. And they won't tell you, by the way. They will not inform you, you need to redo your paperwork. They won't do that. That's why you have an attorney. Anyways, they'll look it over, and they'll send it to this, in this particular case, that we were talking about water, they'll send it to a local EPA office or the government agency that you're talking about, whether state, city, county, whatever. And they'll review your data. They will go and do research on this issue if they don't have all that fact. They will talk to the people that are trying to get your septic tanks removed. In this case, and on infinitum, they will continue to do this and that, push this paper, push that paper, paper push, paper push, paper push. This part of the process will take anywhere from 60 days to probably closer to a year. I've seen some things hang out for 2 years before they were heard. To be honest with you, the only thing they're trying to do is wait you out, make you spend more of your money because you got an attorney on retainer. You got to pay him every once in a while. And possibly you'll get disgruntled and just say, to heck with it, we'll just do it. Or you'll forget about it. And you'll move on with your life. To be honest with you, the only thing they're trying, so that's what they're trying to do. But you must, folks, you must be ever vigilant. Continue to talk with your attorney who has started this process with you. Keep inquiring, when will this be on the agenda? He'll call them. He'll charge you for it, but he'll call them and say, when are we going on the agenda? Oh, we're trying for November of 2039. Whatever they're trying to do. And during this time, I'm trying, now see, this is information to try to help you. So during this time that you're waiting, you need to make sure that your face is in the news. You need to be in front of a camera on media somewhere, whether it's a YouTube video or go to a water symposium or go somewhere. You need to do something. Don't just sit around and wait. Get on podcasts. Get on Facebook. Inundate Facebook with your water issue. Do a YouTube video and send it to everybody. Do a new one and send it to everybody. Do updates on a YouTube channel and send it out to everybody you know. Get everybody that's on your little petitions involved. Get on Twitter, iCloud, iTunes, on every kind of I you can think of. I it all. Put this out on social media and also in the regular media. Just remember, folks, a squeaky wheel will get grease. It just may not be the grease you want it, but it will be grease. It'll get greased. I'm just warning you on that part. But the more you're out there, the more you make the noise, the more you keep going, the more you keep going, the more you keep going, the more you're making it an issue, and the more you're putting pressure on your elected officials to start doing the right thing. And folks, I'm going to say this one more time. I say it all the time. I'm going to say it one more time. They work for us. We hired them. We can fire them. And the way you fire them is you don't reelect them. And if you got people there not doing their job, then don't reelect them. It's very simple. So now during this time, the government agency may just say to heck with you, and we're going to go start doing anything we want to do. Here's the other part B, why you need to have an attorney. Because then you have an attorney at hand who can go to a courtroom and request an injunction, a cease and desist order, so to speak. And they will have to stop. They will have to comply because a court is saying, no, wait a minute. This is before the council. You can't just go forward. Somebody has argued and said, no, we don't want this. And any court I've known of would say, wait a minute, you got a lot of people who are saying, no. This, here's an injunction, cease and desist until the city or the county looks it over and gives an approval or disapproval. So that you have that legal precedent has been set to you because you did take it to, and you are on the record. So that's why you need to do these record things. And you have addressed your grievance with the authority over that issue, or your attorney has. And this is why you need that attorney, so he can file an appropriate injunction. Okay, so now let's hit the way ahead machine there, Mr. Peabody. We're ahead now, I don't know how many months, and now the issue is going to come before your counsel. Your attorney isn't notified. Why? Well, because he's an attorney of record for this particular issue. He will then notify you of the time and date that this issue is going to come before the particular council, and everybody needs to be there. You need to rally the troops, and you need to get them there in force with their little T-shirts on that says, no poo-poo, don't take our poo-poo, or leave our septics alone, or whatever. And, oh boy, now let the games begin. Because in every council meeting I've ever been to, they call the attorney up to speak, and you want the attorney there. He will get up there, and he will have his say. And he'll have plenty of time. See, if a citizen gets up there and says, I'm going to talk about this, okay, you have 3 minutes, begin. But when an attorney comes up to address an issue, and he says, hi, I'm the attorney Joe Blow for the Save Our Poo-Poo organization, they go, okay, go ahead, what's on your mind? They don't time him. They don't. It's just the way it is. I tried it once, and everybody's like, oh, no, we want to hear more. We want to hear more. The council. We need to hear more. Okay. And continued speaking until they're bored. I was already done. I already know what I was going to do. Anyways, then the citizens who have signed up to speak. See, first things first is your attorney that says no. Then the second thing that happens is the county staff or city staff member or their expert scientist gets up there and says, he's wrong. This is what we're going to do, and this is why we have to do it. Doesn't matter that he's got a pile of papers that says this is the most ridiculous thing in the world to do, and they have one little a little post-it note that says, no, we need to do it. Okay? Remember that. You're going to have a pile of data. They're not. Then after he gets done speaking, it's generally, is there any citizens? I see I have a pile of concerned citizens that want to speak, and I started calling off names. And then the citizens who have signed up, yeah, we will give you 3 minutes, because some people, they get sidetracked, like me, and we ramble on for a while. And then you will get up, and they'll say their piece for about 3 minutes, roughly. Then, no further discussion from the citizens, okay? I open the floor to the council for discussion. Over here, somebody wants to say, you have the floor, and he has the floor, and he will talk. Okay, and now he's done. Okay, oh, you over here, you have something to say. And you have the floor, boom, and they go. And I would go through the whole council. They would discuss it. They would debate it. And we'd discuss and do everything. And then I would say, okay, is there a motion on the floor? Somebody will say, I make a motion to approve this. Approve putting the septic, and I was very specific. You need to be specific with what you want to approve. Okay, then the council member would say, I motion for approval of the new septic system. Now, I'm just saying this has never happened. This hasn't happened. We dealt with septic systems, but there was not a vote on it. So anyways, they'll call for a vote. They'll call for a motion. Somebody will make a motion, a very specific motion, either yes or no. Then I will ask for a second. I have a second over here, and that's on the record. Who approved it, who disapproved it. Now, an important issue like this, I would say, okay, we will now have a roll call vote, because I want to know who's saying yes, and I want you to know who says yes. And you can ask, as a citizen, you can stand up, and this is part of Robert's Rules of Order, folks. Any citizen in the gallery can, as they're getting ready to vote, you can stand up, point of order. And as soon as you say point of order, everything stops. What is your point of order? The citizens request a roll call vote. Okay, now it's the chairman's turn. He can say, okay, we will do a roll call vote. And then he can do a roll call vote, which is they call each and every individual, and you should be there with a pen and paper writing down names. How do you vote? How do you vote? How do you vote? Okay. Now you know who to work against or work for, work with, working, however you want to do it. And then they go do their roll call vote, and it either is approved or disapproved. That's very simply how it works. You know how the meeting goes now. Now, let me explain to you some of these little nuances which go on behind the scenes. That's in a perfect world scenario. As I've said, folks, I've said this hundreds of times on different podcasts. What you're dealing with is government. And what it's all about with government is it's all about, and the elected politicians, it's all about the money. How much money is spent? Is the government going to make it? Okay, let me reread this here. How much money is the government going to make by changing your septic tanks over to a septic system? Millions. Millions. Also, the individuals, are they going to give you this low interest loan to connect to a septic system? My question is that. Who's going to get the interest? Because the guys that do that don't get that interest. Somebody's going to get, money's going to be exchanged. And when they build this humongous system, who's going to get paid the hundreds of millions of dollars to dig up the roads and sidewalks and put the huge sewer pipes? Now, as I said in the beginning of this podcast, I do my due diligence. I did my boots on the ground. I talked with people. And unfortunately, a lot of elected officials do not do that. They have the people they talk to that support government positions only, or the political talking heads that support the positions of those who are trying to get this done. And who also, this puts blinders on those political politicians. And they just sit there like a bobblehead on the dais. And you know what? All they do is they just sit there and say yes.
There you go again.
It's all about the money and those ever-important donations for those re-election campaigns, too. Or future campaigns for those politicians. A lot of them are up for re-election. And a lot of them want to move to higher office. You still have a few up there that actually look into the research of the science and the people who actually listen to the citizens and what they want. They're the ones that are trying to do what is right for all of the citizens here involved. a week before we had our meetings in the Volusia County government, the county manager and staff would come in and they'd bring us presentations about issues that were coming up. You know, things, here's what we're going to say, here's how this works, this is the information we have, this is the information we have. They wouldn't tell you anything anybody else had. This is just the information they have. And you know what? From the reactions of the council members, or verbally saying they would support it, the county manager and the county attorney knew who was going to vote for issues. They knew it. It's called polling, and they did that. So, you know, it's like this. You can have 3 notebooks full of real scientific data on a septic tank or anything, which, by the way, these citizens that we've talked about here today have. But the county, city, federal government, state government will all just sit there and say, but our data shows that your septic tank is condemned. And that is the end of their statement. And you know what? The county council or city council might just say, you're right, and we're going to have them removed.
There you go again.
That's right. I've seen it happen several times. So what does your elected officials do? They vote to condemn your septic system? I've seen it happen. Then they require you to connect to their system, $30,000 a crack. That's why you need to have an attorney that works for you. Because as soon as the echo of the positive, we're going to just do it, comes out, and they vote to condemn septic tanks on fake science and data, before the echo fails in the chambers, your attorney needs to be filing an injunction to stop actions and to appeal this decision to a higher court, which is your right. And they will have to stop. Then it's up to the courts to decide whether this is A, constitutional, or B, even needing to be done. And by the way, you can wait them out. Because the more you tie this up in a courtroom, pretty soon the less interested government becomes in fighting you. So you're waiting them out. So there you have it, folks. That's how your government works. As you see, it's very convoluted. It's very long-winded, and it takes a lot of time. And it's all about the government making money on your backs, whether you agree or need to do it or not.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And I think it's time for you, the citizens, to get back to making some correct decisions. And I mean, start making your own decisions. Do it at the ballot box. It's time to vote in people that actually support the citizens. Those who say, I want to do what's right and use real science, not fake science. And you know what, folks? Maybe in the long term, they might actually use some common sense.